I'm going to move on to the next question. Gentleman in the white here. Yeah, I'm coming. Yeah, after this one, I'm coming to you. Yeah.
And then me.
I've got one there, and then you. Yeah. Yes.
So my questions to both speakers. Firstly to Guy. What keeps us? What makes? So I'm not really too happy with that don't know reality of existing. I mean, surely in your mind, doesn't the question ever come? There's generations and generations of people that have arrived before us. People come and go. I mean, we will die. It's a certainty. That's also another certainty. Everyone will die. So why is this all happening? I mean, saying you don't know doesn't stop the reality of dying. So can you please explain explicitly what you mean by don't know? Because in itself it's a truth statement. You're making a truth statement to say that that's what we should do. Okay. So essentially you've made your own sort of religion. So please explain that, because it hasn't been elaborated well enough. And Sheikh, if you could explain more, also what is our purpose of existence?
Okay. Do you want to kick off?
No.
All right, Guy.
So, not knowing is actually what I would recognizing that we do not know things that we don't know is what I call atheist spirituality. It's the first time these people have heard that word. Let me explain why.
For atheists.
It's because it requires the humility to adjust to the reality that we are an insignificant speck in Earth and in the solar system, and even more insignificant in the cosmos. That takes a spirituality, it takes a stoicism and an adjustment to reality. It's difficult if you're brought up with certainties. Oh yes, this is the answer to that, that's the answer to the other, even though those certainties are not true. So that is that point there. What is actually, why, you want me to explain death? That is a natural phenomenon. We all are going to die. Well, actually, some of you may not, because it turns out that scientists possibly have discovered how to keep people young and beautiful throughout their lives. And you may be you may be the first generation to benefit. I'll be dead. But it's something we have to accept. And again, good old atheist spirituality comes in. There's a lovely book by André Comte Sponville called The Little Book of Atheist Spirituality. I recommend it. It really is spot on.
But how can we have spirituality without a spirit?
Thank you very much. Great question. Depends how you define spirit, isn't it, and spirituality. I don't define spirituality in any transcendental sense. I define it as something which is uniquely and above the level of normal human interaction, something rather special and a bit of an achievement in terms of feeling and intellectual understanding. That is how I would describe it.
Okay.
And can I just mention on the purpose, because obviously from a religious point of view, you will inevitably see your purpose in life perhaps influenced by or dictated by the ideas of your religion. But for us humanists and atheists and naturalists, we don't see it that way. We see purpose as something we find for ourselves, create for our own lives. Thank you.
Okay.
With regard to scientists discovering the secret, the elixir of eternal life or youthfulness, the Quran challenges this and tells us كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ, every soul shall taste death. And the second one, وَمَنْ نُعَمِّرْهُ نُنَكِّسُ فِي الْخَلْقِ, regarding old age. These are two things that science can never overcome, and that challenge of the Quran remains in that regard. Also, a third challenge of the Quran for humans is creating something out of total nothingness. This is impossible. Meaning, even genetic engineering would involve taking an extract from something else and then adding onto that or doing something with that. But making something from nothingness would be totally impossible. There are certain challenges of the Quran which still have been not met. But your question regarding the purpose of life, I would say the purpose of my life would be to recognize my innate neediness to the one who created me. This is the purpose of my life.
Okay, we'll take that question there and then.
So for the when talking about naturalism, an argument against God, you said, was it's improbable because God's omniqualities. And would you say it's still improbable for an apathetic, imperfect creator God? How would you argue against that?
No, you're absolutely right. The facts of the world that we experience would support potentially gods other than the perfect Abrahamic type God. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, great.
But that's not the debate we're having tonight. I mean, tomorrow night you may have a debate with some pagans or something like that.
But how
that
would
would be an interesting discussion.
How would you define perfection? Meaning, if we say God is perfect or imperfect, the very definition of perfect or imperfect would be a human definition, and by innateness, it would be imperfect in itself. Meaning, because human beings are so imperfect, their definition of perfection would be imperfect.
I agree. I like it. But there you have the mental gymnastics and hermeneutics that lead you, all you good Muslim folk, to accept what for the rest of us is a rather weird belief system.
I think we do also have people of other faiths as well as the Muslims. But do you want to just answer just go a very quick question?
And when you said well-being versus weighing well-being against suffering in the world, if currently well-being outweighs suffering, could you argue that? And before you said how suffering is caused by humans, so if we go back to hunter-gatherer, where we had a much shorter life expectancy, would you say...
How would we know that we had much shorter life expectancy? How would you know that?
I couldn't say, but I'll take that. In hunter-gatherer societies where it would just be the...
Again, how would you know this? I'm sorry to interject, but in hunter-gathering societies, much of what we know is circumstantial inference of archaeologists and what they tell us. Meaning, even some of these caveman pictures that they draw in biology books do not impart any type of certainty of what we know of our history. In reality, we don't know much of our history except through written records that have reached us through mass transmission.
I could rephrase it then to a simple one. Would you say that well-being is always outweighed suffering?
Okay.
Thanks for asking that question, because it relates to the question that you asked earlier with well-being and suffering. No, well-being does not always outweigh suffering. That is correct. But suffering and what we define as evil relates to God creating evil. Now, we accept God creates evil. This is the distinction between Islam and other religions. We say God creates evil. But one of my responses was that well-being for many people, majority of the times, outweighs suffering. But is it the only response? The answer is no. There are many other responses. For instance, God creates suffering for some people in order that they do not become arrogant in their ways. But does that apply to everyone? The answer is no. The imperfections of the world are there so we do not become attached to the world when we leave the world at the time of death. Imagine you lived a life like Bill Gates, and at the time of death you would not want to leave the world because of its perfection ostensibly for you. Likewise, it's unfair to judge God, like I said, with our imperfect minds prior to looking at the entire picture. So the entire picture would mean looking at the Day of Judgment, looking at the hereafter, because God, meaning if someone accepts divine revelation, they would know God promises reward and punishment and fairness on the Day of Judgment. So the full picture of anything we observe on earth would be the full picture in the hereafter. Meaning if someone believes in the hereafter, they would know there is a full picture which God knows and we do not know. Likewise, there is wisdom behind the divine actions of God. So the divine actions relating to evil and suffering, or relating to any disasters or diseases and pestilence that we observe on earth, we would have to look at the entire picture, and that would lead us back to recognizing our imperfection of not understanding the entire picture and not understanding the divine knowledge of God.
Okay, just to say,
Can I
I'm
just,
going to let you respond. We've just gone past 8 o'clock, so we've only got about 20 minutes left, and I've got at least about 7 people who want to speak, and I'm sure there'll be more. So for the questions that are to come up, please keep them very, very brief so we can get as many in as possible.
Thank you very much. We accept God creates evil and suffering. Wow. Thank you very much for that concession. Stephen Fry and Christopher Hitchens are right then in remonstrating with God for the damage and evil and suffering he's put in. And I love the get out of jail free card that my friend Asrar has. It's unfair to judge God with our imperfect minds. There's no way we can win, because you've always got your get out of jail card free. So that's my response there.
Okay. Question there. I've got most of the questions are on this side, and I know there's someone there, so let's deal with these and then we'll come over. Yeah.
This question's towards Guy. It's based on the assumption that you've said that you can't really have any certainty regarding anything in the real world completely. Am I correct in assuming that first, before?
Just ask
Because the question is basically like, if you can't have certainty that anything is fully the way it is in the real world, like, I know I exist, but I don't really understand. Like, although I can see everyone, I can't be certain that they have like a cognitive ability. How would you be able to draw all the, the historical arguments and the archaeological arguments about, like, how would you be so certain on the conclusions you can draw for them if you can't be certain on their backing or how they existed in the real world in the first place?
Yep.
Like, how would you draw those arguments without that certainty?
Good question, yeah. We have to go on probabilities. We can be almost certain about a lot of things because evidence is accumulated such that, and also simple things, like the fact that there are 2 bottles, 3 bottles on the table. But for more complicated things, we depend on evidence, we depend on models to interpret that evidence, and we can never really be fully certain, although for some scientific theories we're as near to certain as possible. Evolution is actually one of them. So that is the way we can actually proceed to draw conclusions based on as good as we can get it. That is the honest and correct and real way forward, not to claim certainties about mental ideas such as religion.
Okay, do you want to respond to that?
With regard to God creating evil, there is no actual admittance on my part, because it's known that from Quranic sources as well as the Hadith that the Quran states very clearly that God creates evil. But what I would say in regard to what you mentioned regarding evil is that evil is, how do we define evil, may differ from one place to another. With regard to your question on certainty, in Islamic epistemology we would have methods of ascertaining certainty. So because we have methods of ascertaining certainty, for instance what we perceive with our 5 senses would impart certainty, as well as mass transmission imparts certainty, as well as other proofs would impart certainty. So therefore our conclusions would be certain also.
Okay, the lady here.
I want to say a big thank you to both of you, for everyone, for organizing this. I also thank you for the opportunity to ask my question. I'll try and make it brief. The first thing I want to say is when I walked in here, you said that about the origin and things. I want to ask, your glasses, someone made them, your clothes, someone made them. These books, these papers, these colors, they didn't just fall and just come together and work perfectly. And even if you say perfectly, my question is...
Could you slow down? I'm finding it hard to follow you.
What I'm saying is, everything, this scarf, this phone, this mic, because of how it works, because of the whole thing, the thing it serves, even the opposable thumb, it shows intelligent design. So when you say that, oh, we look into creation and we don't know, I really respect that. That's wisdom and humility. Because what you don't know, we call God. And my question to you is it possible that in all your knowledge, you might be about 64, or I don't know how old you are.
I'm 71.
Oh, you look very good. Well done. Honestly, really good. I thought you were 64. Anyways, but is it possible?
Can I have that in writing?
But is it possible that in everything you know, in all your knowledge, all your study, is it possible that you have missed somehow knowing God? Because I have a question. Do you know how many waves are here? How many? Everybody has a phone, right?
Can you just ask the question?
So the question is it possible you've missed God in all your knowing? Because
Okay.
there are things that you don't know. You don't know. I can't see germs does not mean they don't exist. I must not see them or prove them through scientific methods. And to you, thank you also for your warmth and everything. But my question to you is, you talked about history. And you said that, unlike Christianity, I would have asked anything if you didn't mention this. You said, my question to you is, one person I believe got the thing, your Quran. And then compared to 40 people who eyewitness accounts, they've been proved in today's times by the top psychologists, top whatever panel. How can you then say that based on this, your methodology of verification, you can believe one person's report, and you said that it's been passed down from, have you heard of Chinese whispers? My question is, how valid is what you said about the
What was your 40 eyewitnesses for what?
The Bible.
For the Bible, and one witness for?
One person, I
the
believe,
Quran.
got the Quran, right?
Okay.
But 40 people, over 40 people, over
The New
thousands
Testament
of
or
years,
the Old?
both of them together, because
There's
they're
more
both.
than 40.
Thank you. But if all of them are saying one thing about the Messiah, Jesus, the Son of God, that's compared to one person.
But
And
the Old
my
Testament
question,
doesn't mention
he does. Isaiah talks
We're gonna
about
have
this.
to end this one here.
Thank you so much for your time. Anyway, I hope you got the question. I want to
We got the
respond.
question.
Thank
We
you.
got the energy.
I picked up 3 questions from that.
Just sum it up into one answer.
I mean, have I missed anything? Have I missed God in all my knowings? I was brought up as a Catholic, and then I became a Quaker in my 20s, and it's only about 25 years ago that I actually came to the conclusion there was not sufficient evidence for me to believe in God. After a load of Bible study, I might add.
You needed Islamic theology.
Yeah, obviously, since then I have read the Quran and quite a lot of Hadith and been as pretty much horrified as I was when I read the Bible. Now, what you don't know we call God, you said. Yeah, that's it. Is the argument from ignorance. We do not name anything because we don't know it. That's an argument for ignorance.
Okay.
And intelligent design, finally. First, you've got to prove that a God exists before you can start, trying to suggest that that God may have designed something. Look up human design faults. Google human design faults. You'll get a list of, I think, 25 odd of defective faults, in our makeup, our bodies, as a result of imperfect design. And as a person of a certain age, I'm very concerned about the prostate, the male prostate, and the difficulties that gives me, given my age. And you people will get there in due course.
Okay, thanks. Do you want to
Respond to that?
and answer your question as well?
With regard to human imperfections, let's say 25 human design faults, counterweigh that with the thousands of perfections within the human body and the immune system and the way the eye works and with so many other things, meaning the similitude I gave was like a person who enters a hall and he may observe that there's a few things that are missing, does not conclude that the entire whole is not made. Meaning there may be certain imperfections, and I'm saying that God placed those imperfections or perceived imperfections for a reason. And those reasons I've mentioned, one of those reasons is because this world is ephemeral, we're not here forever, the world is short-lived, and we move on to the next world. So again, looking at the entire picture, with regard to what you mentioned...
So you want me to thank God for the prostate, do you?
Yeah, it worked for you for 71 years.
Thank you very much.
The prostate, it worked for you for 71 years. You got to thank him. If you don't pay your bill for 71 years, then it's going to go defunct.
Do you want to just answer?
It's God, for goodness sake. He can fix it, but he didn't.
Okay. just we're in the last 10 minutes now, so
the Bible
we're getting a bit rowdy.
question. With regard to the Bible, hopefully in the future we can hold a Christian and Muslim dialogue regarding the Bible and the Quran. But with regard to the Bible, the word Bible comes from Biblos, which is a number of books, but those books were compiled over a few hundred years, meaning thousands of years, from the first books of the Bible, from Genesis and from the time of Moses, and then over a period of time there were gaps in that time as well, when the Jews, the Bani Israel, when they were transported from Jerusalem to Babylon, they had to memorize the contents of the Bible. So Muslims say that the Bible, many errors and many mistakes entered the Bible, and this is where Christians and Muslims differ regarding the Bible. But because it was compiled over thousands of years, and the Quran was written and compiled and memorized in 23 years, and memorized by 110,000 people, memorized in its entirety, and in 110,000 people, and written and compiled in 23 years, and in that time memorized by 110,000 people, the transmission we say is, well, he would disagree about perfection, we would say is the question is what?
If today's world, one person brought a law, you'll say that person was crazy, stone him out. But if a couple of people, huge number of people get the same message,
I understand your question. The answer to that question is we do not reject those people. We accept Moses, we accept Jesus, we accept David, we accept Solomon, we accept all of them. What we reject is the transmission.
We're having a different debate here about between religions, not about God. So we're gonna end that one there. The people who have got their hands up, I've got you down, so I will come back to you. Let's take the question from here, and then we're going to head towards a wrap up. So we've got the brother there, the sister here. If you've already asked a question, I won't be able to come back to you. Please keep it very brief. Please keep your responses brief as well.
Hi, we talked about a lot about probabilities today, and other physicists, and especially atheist one like Paul Davies, he says the chance of spontaneous life occurring is 1 to the power of 26 or something. My question is it a bigger logical leap to assume that came from nothing, as opposed to something that there was like a cause for it? You don't need to call it God, just something that's external to that.
Okay, thank you. We've got that. Do you want to just
Yep.
quick response, please?
That's another thing that we and I'm talking about scientists, do not understand yet, how life emerged. There are different theories about it. So again, you cannot rely on, you cannot place or found any philosophy or religion based on ignorance. Yep.
Okay, I won't get a chance for a response now. Let's just get these questions out of the way, and then we'll have closing statements. Yeah.
I've just got a quick comment before I ask my question. It'll take 2 seconds.
It's going to have to be quick.
If you don't mind. Just a guy. The guy there mentioned, quoted ayahs from the Quran about murder, etc., etc., and then Guy responded with the 10 Commandments. I wouldn't rely on the 10 Commandments if it's something that you don't believe in when you provide a response. Now, secondly, my question is, if you drop a glass, it will break. It's inevitable. It's going to break. Someone could go back, melt it, bring it back to the way it was. It'll never heal. If you cut your finger, it will heal. So what are your comments on that? Is that science? Is that human intellect working there?
Okay, thank you. We've got that question. Right.
Yeah, body heals, that's biology. Drop glass, it smashes. Physics. Yeah.
Right. Okay, do you want to take the question from there? Yeah. Quick, please.
So my question's about a topic that was raised a few minutes ago about uncertainty. We can all be certain that everybody in this room is here, but given that our mothers all underwent the menstrual cycle and lost lots and lots of eggs, given that our fathers produced billions and billions of sperms, would you not agree that everybody here in this room shake is here by chance?
This is an old interlocutor of mine, David Mill. Hi, David.
You just answered the question.
It's not by it's not by chance that me and you are sitting here. No. Nothing happens by chance. This is where the argument of providence, the argument of which I didn't go into the argument of providence. It's not by chance that you are the son of your parents. I'm the son of my parents, and we're sitting here. This is where we believe in divine power and the divine will.
God brought an egg together with a particular sperm. Is that what you're saying?
Again, like any occurrence in the universe and the galaxies that occurs, we believe it happens by the divine will.
Okay.
Right, we've answered that one. Going to take the question from here.
Hi, my question is for Guy. I find it interesting when you were explaining your ethos in being certain in I don't know. You use the word you believe in creating your own existence and creating your own purpose. So why is it so hard for you to believe that there's something greater than you that created you? You must have a lot of faith in nothingness if that's the case.
Faith, no, I don't find it difficult to believe in the possibility that there is a God and that there is something greater than me existing, i.e. God. That's not what atheism is about. Atheism is about not being convinced of the arguments that there is a God. Now, if somebody came and demonstrated God's existence to me, I'd be there. I believe it. But that has not happened, and throughout my life I have been interested in the question, and I've considered the arguments for and against, and I've found the arguments for God wanting. And that's why, when it comes to purpose, we humanists create our own purposes. We decide what it is important in our lives. It's as simple as that. And the idea that we're needy for a God is to my mind, is rather sad.
I'm just going to take a question here from the gentleman in the grey. Final question will be the gentleman in the green at the top there, and then we're going to get the closing statements.
Yeah, I've just put a few notes here, and I noticed that you said that obviously Bible can have flaws in it, and we know that to know God it's a spiritual thing. I believe in faith. We can't see God, but we believe in Him by faith. And we believe through His letter. The question is which is the right letter? So I've just put a couple of things down here. I know we're going off track a little bit, but I've just put a couple of quotes. I'm going to make it quick from Quran. And it says in Quran from Surah chapter 2 verse 59, believers, Christians and Jews, they will have their reward with their Lord. So who's their Lord? Is that Allah or is that Jesus? Is the Muslim admitting that Jesus is Lord here? So then it says in Surah chapter 3 verse 79, he who chooses a religion other than Islam will not be accepted and in this next world lost. So what I want to know here is this is a clear contradiction in the book of the Quran. Can you explain this to me?
Okay. Your question should be, is this a clear contradiction?
Is this a clear contradiction?
Because the word Islam refers to submission to the Creator. That's what the word refers to. It does not refer to the revelation on the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, only. It refers to the revelation upon all the previous prophets, also including Jesus. So when Allah says in the Quran that the word used is Nasara, which would mean the Nazarenes, meaning because Jesus was from Nazareth, the followers of Jesus prior to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the ones who followed the true teachings of Jesus, and the Jews who followed the teachings of Moses correctly, and the followers of the Prophet Muhammad, and after those who follow these prophets correctly, they will enter paradise with their Lord, because they all follow one Lord, which is Allah, and they submitted to Him, which is known as Islam. So we believe, our understanding of who Jesus was that Jesus preached monotheism in Jerusalem to the Jews and to others, and that was the true religion of Jesus, and a continuation of that was Islam.
Okay.
Can
I didn't let the Sheikh respond to the last question.
I've got a couple of points that
we'll pick them up in the final comments. Yeah. Just the gentleman there, yeah.
Thank you for your time today, Guy and Sheikh. Guy, you've described, you used the word mental gymnastics quite a lot today for inductive and deductive arguments. and it seems like you require observable evidence for absolutely everything. Are you able to provide observable empirical evidence today that you have a great-great-great-great-grandmother without inferring? We know, don't tell me it's biology, I know it's biology. Are you able to provide observable empirical evidence today that you have a great-great-great-great-grandmother?
Is that your question? Okay, thank you.
It's a somewhat boring question. I actually have documentary evidence of my great-great-great-grandmother.
Okay, let's go back 20 greats. Let's go back 50 greats.
Take it back 10 or 20,
principle.
great-great-great-greats, and nobody has that evidence, but we're all still here. It's boring.
That's not empirical.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're gonna have to leave it there. Do you want to just give your final thought, and we'll take a final thought from you, and we'll wrap it up.
My final thought on this issue is if you want to reach a state of certainty with regard to the existence of God, then you would have to reach that state of certainty through recognizing ubudiyyah, servitude to Allah, which means that every human here would know the answer within themselves. Within themselves, they would know the answer when in your dying days, you are dying, eventually you will call out to a God. Which God is that? That is the first cause of the universe, who has the attributes of eternalness, divine power, divine will, dissimilarity to creation, and self-sufficiency. This is the divine power and the divine who controls and made the universe.
Thank you. Just before Guy gives his final thought, there are feedback forms on your desks in front of you. Please complete them before you leave. That really helps Hamza and his team at Medina Society to put on these events and improve them going forward. We'll have Guy's final thought.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for a really fascinating evening. Firstly, I would want to sort of point out that I don't think the Sheikh has actually produced any actual evidence for God's existence. Not a surprise, because the only evidence is actually mental gymnastics or logical deductions, and those are all things that happen in your head. We need something happening, that is tangible and real, or observable. That's one point. But thank him anyway. I thank him anyway. And as far as faith is concerned, is there anything that you could not believe based on faith? You could be a Mormon. You could be a Scientologist. You could worship Prince Philip on faith. So faith is not a reliable method to determine truth or reality.
Is the mind sufficient? Is the mind sufficient?
This is going to be a final. And
my final point is.
Let me have a final gymnastics with Guy. Everyone else stay.
Before you do
the Olympics now. We're just going to.
Before you do that, can I just talk about Jesus for a second? You'd be interested to know I have some views about Jesus, and the interesting thing is that there is a growing number of scholars who doubt Jesus existed at all. Bart Ehrman, Richard Carrier, David Fitzgerald, Robert Price. All of these people have written books.
But that would be contradicted by Josephus, the historian, who was actually a contemporary of Jesus.
No, he wasn't.
He came slightly after, but
Josephus got his information from groups of Christians. No, this is a very interesting move, and it not only undermines Christianity, but it's going to undermine Islam as well. So it's something that you people have got to look at and understand.
But how could you reject Josephus's Antiquities, where he mentions the existence?
Josephus is dealt with in detail in these books. We haven't got time.
Right. Well, I think we're gonna leave it there. We don't have time. So thank you, everybody.